double check here, everybody. We'll tell you where we're at here in just a second. Hopefully we've got, there we are, we're live. Well, welcome to the Happy Hour Huddle. Well, we've got a couple guests here tonight. My first one is right here, Ray Voigt.
Pat, how are you doing?
Well, how about that, everybody? We're here at the BlueGrass Classic.
BlueGrass Classic.
It's sheepdog trial here in Lexington, Kentucky. There's people from everywhere. Well, young lady behind us from Northern Ireland?
Ireland.
From Ireland?
Yeah.
And, well, we've got
Canada. All over the U.S.
All over the U.S. Quite an event. So why are we here? Well, partly I'm here on behalf of Purina, but this is a great opportunity to talk a little bit about, well, long-distance dog events. And look at this, Ray. We're watching this herding trial go on over our shoulders. And they're working at about, what do we figure, 400, 450 yards here?
Yeah, the initial outrun is probably a little over 400 yards, I would guess.
Would not be an untypical blind retrieve for what we would do in our sport.
Correct. Same type of distance, same type. I mean, they got to be responsive to a whistle at that distance at 400 yards. They have to, it's partly instinct and partly training and control, and same things that we deal with on a daily basis.
Going to be very interesting. Our next guest, well, here we go. We're going to have a two-time, well, I don't know how many times our guest has won this event, but I know in, what was it? Well, come on up here. You tell us about it. This is Scott Glen. Hey, Scott, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Scott is from Alberta.
Yes.
And what town in Alberta did you say?
New Dayton. It's about 30 miles from a city called Lethbridge. Wouldn't be a city on the grand scheme, but 100,000.
Very good. Well, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
So you won this event back-to-back times with a dog named Alice.
Yes.
What years were that? We were looking at that right on the program. Well,
17 and 18. 18 and 19.
18 and 19. Look at that. It was 2018 and 2019 you won.
All right. Good. All right.
How many times have you won this?
5 maybe.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about it. I mean, for the first time, well, I just met you for the first time a few minutes ago. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about, these are probably the field trial retriever game and the herding dog games probably, and obviously, pointer trials are super long distance events. But control in both the herding dogs and in retrievers is paramount.
Right, exactly. Instinct first, and then...
Well, that's right.
To guide the instinct.
So I'm watching the handlers. They have to work from a post.
Yes. And
they have to go out and locate the sheep, and there's a series of things they have to do that I'm going to learn more about in the upcoming days. But what I wanted to ask you a little bit about was, we talked about the retriever game, and our technique to train is, more discipline and control, but these are a different type of dog here we're dealing with, these border collies.
Well, it is about discipline and control, but it's about letting some of it go too. It's not just all control. It's about, basically use the control to guide the sheep, but they naturally want to bring the sheep to you. So on the fetch, after getting around the backside of the sheep, that's instinct. You whistle to make it better, or if they need help to make it better, but they'll do that without saying anything.
But would you say, Pat and Scott, I mean, it starts same as it would in a retriever world. I mean, it starts right next to you, right? I mean, you're not the first time you're putting a dog on there.
I'm not familiar with the retriever world at all, but yes, it's start up close. So I mean, they either get good habits or they get bad habits, right? And what they learn first, they learn very good. So
what are your beginning obedience commands you teach?
Lie down and recall.
Okay.
Steady. Walk up. Walk up being a little faster. Steady being to slow down. And then, your left and your right sides.
So, and you're doing that in close. You're starting this at 6 months of age with these puppies?
Well, it depends. Some people have their different, it'll depend on the dog obviously, and the trainer as well. Some people, even if the dog is really keen to go, they'll wait past 6 months, like myself, all 9 months to a year.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're just, I don't know, they're young and impressionable, but what they learn first, if you get them too careful on the stalk, after they get a little bit of age, they might be too careful.
Okay.
They look really good when they're young, and then they get older and wiser and figure, well, I learned careful, so I know how to be real careful, and then they end up too careful.
You don't want to take too much desire out of them. Front, right?
Exactly, or boldness,
Yeah.
if you can help it.
Well, that's certainly the truth in our game. I mean, that fine balance between natural ability and disciplined behavior is a
Right.
slippery slope,
Yeah,
and it's a fine line.
yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, I've always, like in clinics I do, I don't know if it's maybe not 100% accurate, but I always say, as long as there's something going in their ears, the brain can't turn as good. So putting the whistle in their ear to help them do something, and then let them, when they're quiet, they get more time to think.
So how many years you been doing this?
Oh Lord, since I got my first dog in '84.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a while.
Well, that's that.
6,
1984 was when I turned professional. So
Oh, no.
so we've been doing our sports for about the same amount of time.
Uh-huh.
I was 2, just so you both feel bad.
I went behind the ears.
So when I first met you, we were watching here, and when we talked, I asked you that question about long distance control, and in the world of training herding dogs, the remote collars are not something that's used.
No, I think there's people that use them, I'm sure, but as a whole, no.
And I can't even imagine how I communicate and discipline a dog at 400 yards.
Right. Well,
Is it mostly a verbal thing?
Well, yeah, it is. They have to know, a grouch or a hey, that it's pressure, and respond to the pressure. So pressure, obviously, I imagine same in your game. Pressure breeds caution,
Okay.
or pressure convinces them to do something, and then you put a whistle on with it. So if they know their left and the right, and you want a left flank, they don't take it. It might be a lie down, maybe a little pressure, and then the release being the command.
Very
So,
interesting. Go ahead.
I
Ray.
mean, you think about the connection. I mean, we use the collar, you don't, but it's still, the dog has to understand what you want it to do, has to understand how to respond properly, whether it's a collar correction or a verbal reprimand or the whistle. I mean, and you're starting at a close distance. I mean, there are a lot of parallels in getting to the top level at both sports.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we can do is try to stretch them too far, get them out so they're at a bigger distance, because a lot of dogs will outrun, but get to the same thing. The good news is they found the sheep. The bad news is they found the sheep.
So people have a tendency to stretch them out too fast.
Too far. You can stretch them out, but if they don't mind, they get in the habit of listening or not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Makes perfect sense.
So if you go too far, and they don't respond to your whistles, you don't want to get them too good at it.
So I was looking at the program. I saw you won back-to-back nationals with a dog named Alice. Ray, you mentioned that Alice has an incredible resume. Tell us a little bit about Alice.
Alice, I mean, she started out young. I know. I went down in a clinic in the States and took her as probably 8 months old, something like that. And I was down there for two and a half weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And when I got back, I showed my wife a little outrun. She was doing 100 yards, maybe a little bit more, and pretty controlled. And she asked, well, do you want to try the other outrun, which would be the other side, to go to the other side. And she said, I'll get a dog and drive him out for you. I said, I think I can probably do it. So I took her along. She was just a sponge. She just ate it up, and she was, I think she won the first year nursery. She was eligible for 2 years. She won the first one in 2013. She was second in 2014 in the nursery. And that's been equaled, I think, a handful of times. And then it was eclipsed by a dog named Ben, owned by Joni Teachin, that she won it 2 years in a row.
Okay.
And the difference being and Ben was very accomplished. But Alice went on to win the national finals 3 times, the Open division, which is
The Open Division and National Finals 3 times.
yeah, and won the Canadian Nationals, won the BlueGrass twice, won Meeker once, won Soldier Hollow. So she's
Basically, for everybody that's every big national level event that there is to win, she won.
The equivalent of winning our National Open and National Amateur.
And in both countries and the National Derby Championship too.
That's incredible.
That's the big. I mean, she'd won a lot of other trials too, but that was the major.
And my next question, because I was curious, was what age did she win these nationals at? And we decided there were 6 and 7. Is that right? She was born in 12.
6 and 7 here. Right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And she won her Open Nationals. Before that, or around?
No,
after that.
No, but actually, the one year she won it here, she probably went on to win the nationals.
That same year.
Yeah, maybe both years. I can't feel a little bit stupid.
But in the
dates
retriever
don't-
game, if you look at the national events, the most competitive dogs are, I think 6 is the most typical age, then 7, then 5, then 8. Those are the most common ages in that order.
Oh.
And it sounds like it's kind of similar.
6, 7, 5, 8.
If you look at,
That was probably quite similar. Quite similar.
because there's a lot to learn, a lot of experience factors.
Yeah, you can train them to do anything, but you can't train experience.
Well, that's great. Well, pleasure to meet you.
Oh, my pleasure, Pat.
And you've run some dogs here today?
Yeah.
And you have any more to run today?
One over yonder in the little field.
How did you do with your dogs here?
I struggled with my main dog, but the one I was like the one that won the nationals last year, he struggled a bit. But the one that was behind him, she was reserve last year as well. She's sitting, I think, 3rd.
So the finals are Sunday morning.
Yep, Sunday all day. Start Sunday morning.
Well,
8
wonderful.
o'clock, I imagine.
Well, once again, it's a pleasure to meet
my
you.
pleasure. I've
look
heard a lot
forward-
about you.
forward-
It was nice to actually put a face with a name.
As always.
Well, likewise. Well, there you go. Hey, I want to tell you about one other thing here. I want to tell you about a sports medicine clinic that's coming up with Dr. Janelle Appel, Dr. J we call her. Ray can tell you all about it, but she's the master of sports medicine and rehabilitation. And there's a 3-day clinic. What is it? June 7th?
So 2 days, I think.
There's a 2-day clinic, June 7th and 8th, in Canterbury, Connecticut, at Quinnebog Kennels. And it's if you're interested, if you're in the Northeast, I highly recommend you coming out to check it out. Janelle is awesome. She keeps these dogs together at all our national events. She's got a lot to teach you. So Robin is going to post below the information if you'd like to know more about that clinic. So, well, we haven't had our happy hour drink yet, but it won't be long. So, very good. Again, good luck to you, my friend. Ray, thanks for being here. Bye-bye. Good.
See.
That'll be fun. We'll get you the deal. You can look at that.
Thank you.